Hi everyone, this is Veer Nagaraju. So I'm taking this session today. The topic is emerging technologies for big data processing and analytics. That is the topics for us today. So like we are going to talk about unstructured data processing with Apache Hadoop and SOLR Cloud, and then few other emerging technologies. That is the topic for us today. Okay, so before starting, I will introduce myself. Okay, so before others to join, and so that they won't be missing something. So let me introduce myself. Okay, my name is Veer Nagaraju. So I have over 20 years of experience in IT. Okay, another 7 years in non-IT. I worked in different management roles for Andhra Pradesh State Road Transport Corporation. So out of 20 years in IT, I stayed in US for 9 years and then worked on different front-end and back-end technologies and then played different roles. Okay, so the front-end wise, I worked on I started my career with COBOL and mainframes, and after working for 2.5 years, I changed to open technologies. Parallelly, I worked on PHP in Oracle and ASP and Microsoft SQL Server, and then .NET applications and Oracle front-end and then Oracle Forms and Reports. Okay, so the back-end side, I am very good advanced programmer in Oracle and Microsoft SQL Server and Sybase. Okay, I worked on data warehousing. Okay, and the domain side, domain expertise, I have a domain expertise on developing content management systems, e-commerce applications, and I worked on a couple of state health department programs, developing some applications for Indiana State Department of Health, and then I have worked on a healthcare product at Indiana State Department of Health. I have worked on order processing systems and finance and banking. That's my, and then the public transportation. That's my domain expertise. And so the major clients that I work for is American Express, Progress Rail Services, and Indiana State Department of Health in USA. I moved back to India in 2007, worked for a company called NetEnrich Technologies as a senior technical project manager, and handled a couple of projects. I used to participate in the technical reviews and the designs and all, apart from my management duties. Okay, and then for last 4.5 years, so I have been working as an IT consultant and project management consultant. Okay, so for last 2 years, I have been completely involved in big data and then Hadoop coaching and working as a consultant for medium-sized companies. Okay, so apart from this, okay, so I had delivered a couple of sessions on project management professional certification, ITL version 3 foundation certification, and Microsoft. I am a Microsoft certified technology specialist. I also delivered a couple of online sessions, classroom sessions on and the corporate sessions on Microsoft projects. Okay, so coming back to my education. I am a PLP certified, ITL version 3 foundation certified. I am a Microsoft certified technology specialist in Microsoft projects. Okay, I did my master's in US. Okay, so that is my background. Okay, so agenda for today is, okay, agenda for today is what is big data. So big data and Hadoop, and what are the emerging technologies that are used to process a big data, which is a big challenge for the traditional systems nowadays. And then all are the ecosystems. What are all the ecosystems of Hadoop? Okay, and then flow of processing for unstructured data. flow of processing for unstructured, for dealing with the unstructured data like log data. So what are the tools, what are the emerging technologies that makes faster to process this kind of unstructured log data? So this is the agendas for this 1 hour session. So I'm going to cover most of the topics, like all the topics that was mentioned in Sanja's email. Okay, I'm going to cover. You can ask the questions, but type in your questions in your chat box, so that all these questions will be consolidated, and you will get the email with all the answers for the questions, because 1 hour is not enough for us to answer the questions in between. Okay, I will try to clarify everything what I am talking on right now. Okay, so that if you have definitely you will have questions, because we are covering a lot of topics in this 1 hour. Okay, just I am giving a brief introduction about each of the emerging technologies that are that is used on doing the big data processing and analytics. Okay, so write your questions on the chat box, so that all the questions will be consolidated, and then you'll get the answers in a day or two. Okay. Okay. So yeah, before going talking about the emerging technologies, so in the nowadays, so big data is the big challenge for the traditional systems. Traditional systems means the systems which are using a single server for both storing the data and processing the data. Okay, so enormous amount when compared to 1990s, okay, enormous amount of data is being generated from different sources, like your the social networking sites, okay, and the signaling systems, and the data generated by flights, okay, and then security sensors. Okay, so different sources. Social networking sites, Facebook is one of the company which is generating highest amount of the data. Okay, so these are the sources, because of the technology enhancements, and then the storage space also becomes so cheaper. Okay, so cheaper, so lot of data is getting generated. So the processing of the data very faster is a big challenge for the traditional systems. Okay, so what is big data? Okay, so what is big data? It is a word which is used, a keyword which is used for large amount of the data, or massive amount of the data, or huge data. Okay, so large volume of the data in the sense. So okay, we can call it as a big data if it is beyond the capability of a single physical machine to store the data and process the data. Okay, process the data. Okay, it is difficult for them, or like sometimes not possible, because enormous amount of data at a time you are going to process. So yeah, your architecture or your hardware does not support that to store such a huge data at a time. So you have to think about the alternatives to store the to store or archive the data, old data, and then just keep the warm data, and then whenever you require that archived data, and then bring it back and then process it and send it back. A lot of architectural designs needs to be changed to process such a huge data, and then sometimes it is impossible to process. So if you overload in a single physical machine, at some point of time it will fail. Okay, the system will crash or hangs up. Okay, so that kind of huge data is called the big data. So this is a term for a collection of data sets so large and complex. Okay, complex data sets, like the data can be categorized into 3 types: structured data, semi-structured data, and unstructured data. Okay, structured data coming from the databases. Semi-structured data, it is not kind of fully structured data, and is not kind of unstructured data, like your XML files, Excel files, JSON file formats. Okay, so these file formats are comes under semi-structured data. And then unstructured data, any data which is not coming from the databases or the data format that we just talked about, like Excel, XML, and JSON. Okay, unstructured data is kind of text messages, okay, and your documents, emails, images, pictures, audios, videos, okay, and your telephone conversation data, all this data comes under unstructured data. So it will become very hard, very difficult for the traditional systems to process the data using the traditional technologies like your Java framework or .NET framework or some other tools or database management tools to process such a huge data. Okay, that means so complex the data, that's what we just talked about. Okay, the term for a collection of data sets so large and complex that it becomes difficult to store and process. So the challenge is storing the data. Okay, so we cannot manufacture a machine beyond SIT capability, like more than 10, 20 terabytes or 30 terabytes or something like that, or 200 terabytes or 300 terabytes in terms in the case of Teradata databases. But beyond that, the system will fail. So that means storing the data, okay, and processing the data. Okay, you cannot manufacture a machine, okay, beyond certain limit like RAM. You can have the machines. Recently they developed 1 terabyte of RAM. If your data is more than that, so it is also not possible for that single physical systems. So it is beyond the capability of the single physical machine to process such a huge data. That data is called big data. So this definition I had taken from somewhere, so which is giving a more meaningful, okay, definition for the big data. The term for a collection of data sets so large and complex that it becomes difficult to store and process using on-hand database tools like Oracle or MySQL or other databases or traditional data processing applications. Okay, big data, why? So these are the measurements which are used for measuring the big data. Okay, what is big data? It is a large volume of the data. Existing tools were not designed to handle such a huge data. These are the measurements for measuring the big data. Gigabyte 10 to the power of 9 bytes, 1 terabyte equals to 10 to the power of 12 bytes, 1 petabyte equals to 10 to the power of 15 bytes, 1 exabyte equal to 10 to the power of 18 bytes, zettabyte equal to 10 to the power of 21 bytes. Okay, so 1 zettabyte is equivalent to 1 trillion GB. When you convert 1 zettabyte to gigabytes, it is 1 trillion gigabytes. Okay, so we'll do some comparisons how the data, how enormous amount of the data is getting generated nowadays when compared to 1990, and then whether the storage, whether the processing capabilities has been improved or not. Okay, so 1990. So on an average per person, as per IDC, Information Data Corporation, okay, so they used to store 1400 MB per person at a transfer speed of 4.5 MB per second, read the entire drive in just 5 minutes. When it comes to 2010, okay, the storage capabilities of each individual has been increased to 1 terabyte, and then at a transfer speed of 100 MB per second, with the traditional systems available in 2010, read the entire drive in 3 hours. That means the customers cannot wait until 3 hours. They expect that processing needs to be completed within 5 minutes. Okay, so but the processing, what I am trying to tell here, the processing capability of the single physical machines has been improved a lot. Okay, so because Hadoop is available from 2006 onwards, practical implementations of Hadoop, which uses a distributed architecture. Okay, so the practical implementations has been done at Facebook and Yahoo. Okay, some of the other big clients. Okay, 2006 onwards. So in 2010, okay, using the Hadoop, which uses a distributed architecture, that means it using more than one machine for storing the data and processing the data in a distributed way. And then all these machines are connected through a network in a LAN network and act as a single machine to store and process the data. Okay, so that means all these machines which are connected through LAN network will share the load and act as a single node, single machine. So that means if you have 1 GB RAM of 10 machines, altogether all the machine is 10 GB. That means so you can process at a time in this cluster 10 GB at a time. That means you are not overloading any single physical machine. In the same way, the storage also. Okay, one file is, when you copy one file into Hadoop distributed file system, okay, that means it is a logically created file system which is managed by the Hadoop framework components. Okay, so in that case, your one file data is stored on more than one machine in the form of small chunks called blocks. Each block size is 64 MB. In the form of 64 MB blocks. Okay, so the framework components will divide that data set into multiple small blocks and distribute among the cluster of machines. Okay, distribute among the cluster of machines. So that means your one file data is distributed among multiple machines. That's why you are not overloading any single physical machines. So there is no limitation in the second generation of Hadoop. You can have n number of machines, like currently Facebook is using 50,000 node cluster, means 50,000, you can imagine 50,000 node cluster machines. Okay, that means 50,000 means each is 64 GB and then 64 GB RAM and the RAM and 20 terabytes, 12 to 20 terabytes of hard disk. You can imagine how much storage space it has altogether, all the machines, and then how much processing, how much big files that you can process using a distributed parallel processing concept, which is called a MapReduce programming concept. We are going to talk about those ecosystems of Hadoop framework in a little while. Okay, so using this architecture, Hadoop uses a distributed architecture for storing the data and processing the data. Using this, so 100 drives means 100 machines, okay, working at the same time can read 1 terabyte of the data in 2 minutes. That means it is 90 times faster than the traditional systems like Java framework or .NET framework, or using your database RDBMS tools like Oracle or Microsoft SQL Server or MySQL or any other databases which uses SQL. So and then which are built on top of, okay, and using single physical machine there for storing and processing the data. Okay, so that means 90 to it is like 100 to 300 times faster than the traditional systems based on how complex data that you are processing. So that is the capability of Hadoop. Okay, so big data statistics. As per Information Data Corporation IDC estimates 1.2 zettabytes of the data in 2010. Okay, so the data getting generated from these sources, Facebook 6 billion messages per day and 400 petabytes of the data per month. Google creates 250 to 300 petabytes of the data per month. So you can imagine if you gather 10 years of the data, you can think about, okay, exabytes of the data or zettabytes of the data generated. When it comes to 2014, it became 1.4 zettabytes of the data. Okay, so means almost more than doubled within these 3 days. Okay, within these 3 years. So when you talk about 2020, okay, the expectations are the total data generated is 35.7 GB based on the technology enhancements. So you can imagine how speed of your systems needs to be in order to store and process such a very enormous amount of the data. Okay, so for that, lot of emerging technologies are being developed to process in a faster way, which works in a distributed way. Okay, what are the emerging technologies that you are going to use? Okay, emerging technologies. Big data is not just a buzzword, but a new fact of business life. Big data analytics can be done in the cloud. That means your Hadoop can be installed in your Hadoop clusters, can be installed in cloud also. Okay, so like AWS, Amazon Web Services have their own product called EMR, Elastic MapReduce. Okay, so the clients can use their product directly, or you can build your Hadoop cluster on Hadoop's EC2 Elastic Compute Cloud or simple storage service. Amazon's S3. You can use their storage devices in order to build your Hadoop clusters either, or you can use their product called EMR. So big data analytics can be done in cloud also, and then you can build your own clusters, or your Hadoop cluster can be built in cloud. Okay, the new enterprise data operating system or processing system. Okay, you can do more predictive analytics using different tools. Okay, developed for dealing with these technology, dealing with this large amount of the data. Okay, so deep learning of machine learning languages has been developed. And then, so more system has been developed, so which uses in-memory analytics. Instead of reading every time from the physical drive, okay, it uses in-memory analytics, so that your speed of the systems, the processing is improved. Okay, so distributed frameworks. So Apache Hadoop is the distributed framework. So what is the definition of Hadoop? We just talked about the architecture of Hadoop, which is using a master-slave architecture. One master will be there, multiple slaves will be there. Okay, master is the one which manages all these slaves which are distributed, okay, which are connected through a network. One master which manages all these machines which are connected through a network. It is a master-slave architecture. So the master is called the name node, and the slaves are called the data nodes. Multiple data nodes. Like I said, 50,000 node cluster. Out of them, one is name node. All others are slaves, data nodes, which will be used. All these data nodes will be used for storing the data and processing the data in a distributed way. Okay, in open source. So what is Hadoop? Why they have developed this Hadoop? An open source software framework. So I think everybody knows about the open source. Open source means it is free, entirely free for users, and then you can download the source code based on your requirement. You can change the code also to suit your requirements. Okay, so that is called an open source. What are all the technologies which are used in Hadoop framework are entirely free. So the technologies that you use in Hadoop are either C, C++, Python, Java, R language, Ruby. These are all the languages which can be used to write your algorithms to do the big data analytics or processing the data. You can use all these technologies which are an open source. And then MySQL, then when they developed the software, it is in Apache's open source product. MySQL is free, and then the Ubuntu, CentOS, Fedora, these operating systems are entirely free. Okay, and all the Hadoop softwares, okay, from Apache, open source Apache, or either you can get it from open source Apache or from any of the major distributors like Cloudera, Mapr, or Hortonworks. These are the major distributors of this Hadoop. They give support to the clients. For that they charge, but not for the software, so that you can avoid, okay, pouring millions of dollars in buying expensive hardwares like Oracle softwares or Teradata softwares and hardwares. Okay, so that means it is an open source software framework which is used for storing the data in a distributed way, and then large scale processing of data sets are using a cluster of commodity hardware. Clustering of machines means bringing together all the machines in a network, so which will act as a single unit to process the large volume of the data at a time. There is no limitation, no scalability issues. Okay, no scalability issues. So using a commodity hardware, the hardware you don't need to pour millions of dollars in buying the expensive hardwares too, like proprietary hardwares like IBM mainframes or Teradata hardwares. Okay, those are pretty expensive. You can use the assembled machines, like you can assemble by separately buying your multi-core processors, and then separately buying your RAM separately, and then you buy the physical storage. Okay, a couple of terabytes of physical storage and assemble them, and then those can be used as one of the data nodes in the Hadoop cluster, so that these machines will be used for both storing the data and processing the data in a distributed way. So this is, at this point, this is the only alternative to deal with big data, this distributed architecture which came from Google. That's why we are going to talk about the history of this Hadoop. Okay, so by keeping in mind all the challenges faced by the traditional industry, Google, okay, has used this distributed file system, which is called Google File System, and then the MapReduce framework, MapReduce concept, which is MapReduce is a distributed parallel processing framework. Okay, so all these blocks which are spread among the cluster of machines will be processed simultaneously by this MapReduce framework. So the developer will be emphasizing more on implementing their business logic. So all these processing of all these blocks and collecting all these blocks information, and then collecting and then transferring to a machine where the reduced processing will be happening, and then finally write the output to an output directory in the Hadoop distributed file system. So this framework is implementing a distributed parallel processing concept. That way, because your code is acting upon a small amount of the data, which is by default 64 MB or 120 MB or maximum 512 MB. Instead of processing entire 1 terabyte of file at a time, which happens in the case of using traditional systems like Oracle or the applications using .NET framework or Java framework, which uses a single physical machine. Okay, so this distributed architecture will solve the issue, addresses all the challenges faced by the traditional industry. Okay, so they released the papers after successful implementation of this concept to deal with big data in 2004. Dow Cutting and his team member Mike Caffarella and Tom White, a small team, and implemented this concept at Nutch Search Engine. Okay, at Nutch Search Engine, and then they implemented it successfully. And then after successful implementation of this concept at Nutch Search Engine, Yahoo hired Dow Cutting and his team to implement this in Yahoo Groups. Okay, so from 2008 onwards, Hadoop became Apache's top level project. Okay, because this technology is getting so familiar. Okay, this is the typical Hadoop cluster deployment. Okay, so whatever the machines, like I said, one name node, okay, one job tracker name node is used for processing the storing the data in a distributed way, and then job tracker is the master, which is used for processing the data in a distributed way. Okay, so these are the masters, and all these data nodes and task trackers are the slaves. Okay, 30 to 40 machines will be put it in one rack. Okay, and then like that you divide the n number of data nodes into multiple racks to avoid the failures of the Hadoop cluster due to network failures. So yeah, this is the typical. That means one master will be active at any point of the time, and then all these data nodes will share the load in terms of storing the data and processing the data in a distributed way. Okay, this is the typical Hadoop cluster. So if you wanted to start talking about Hadoop architecture, it will take one hour to 1.5 hours. Okay, so the current challenges faced by the traditional industry and how Hadoop addresses. Current challenges are also called 3 V's: volume, velocity, and then variety of the data. Volume, amount of the data. When the data becomes so big, it is beyond the capability of a single physical machine. So that is a challenge for the servers which are using single physical machines. Okay, and then because Hadoop addresses this issue using this Hadoop distributed architecture, so that you are not overloading any single physical machine here. Okay, So that way it is addressing that scalability issue in terms of storing the data. Velocity, when the data, the rate at which data flows, the frequency at which data flows. So at a time when you are hitting the database or hitting the application, so that if it is beyond its capability in terms of storage and processing, so the system fails, crashes, or the system crashes or fail, or hardware failures will occur because it cannot handle such a huge data. So Hadoop, using a distributed architecture in which you are using multiple machines to share the load, so that because the data is distributed in terms of 64 MB blocks, so and then spread among the cluster of machines, you are overcoming this issue. Because if you think that more data is coming and then you are having that's inconsistent velocity, then you plan on keeping another 100 nodes as backup nodes so that they will take the load, so that your system never fails. So that way it is implementing a fail-safe mechanism. By default, this architecture, okay, keeps 3 copies. If one copy fails, any blocks which are stored on the machine will be re-replicated by this framework, so that consistently it keeps 3 copies, so that there won't be any problem. If some machines fails, other machines will take care about sharing that load. Okay, variety of the data, range of data types. So this Hadoop, variety of the data, like we talked about, structured data, semi-structured data, and unstructured data. It can deal with any types of data sets. Okay, advantages of using Hadoop: scalability. No scalability issues in terms of storing and process because it is using a distributed architecture. Availability of the Hadoop cluster is 99.9999% in the second generation of Hadoop. Okay, because it is implementing a fail-safe mechanism like we discussed just before. Okay, so it is by default keeping 3 replications. In that way, the availability of this Hadoop distributed file system is 99.999%, so that this system never fails. So there is no issue for disaster recovery or something else. Okay, you can rely on this system because it is implementing a failover mechanism. Cost effective, because so all the softwares are open source which are used in under Hadoop, and you are going to use commodity hardware which is available in the open market. Okay, so that way you are it is 90 to 99% cost savings when you use Hadoop cluster for dealing with big data, for storing and processing the data. Okay, flexibility, it is flexible enough to take any types of data types, like your structured data, semi-structured data, and unstructured data. It is faster. It is like I said, it is 100 to 300 times faster than the traditional systems, because it's a distributed parallel processing concept, and then your code will be acting upon only small amount of the data, one block at a time, and then because of the parallel processing concept, it is winning the race when compared to the traditional systems. Okay, it is resilient to failure. It is implementing a failover mechanism. Any system can fail in the network, but all the data which is on the failed machines will be re-replicated by the framework to other available machines. Okay, so ecosystems of Hadoop. So we are now talking about the systems which are developed for dealing with different kinds of the data. So different types of the data, how to deal with different types of the data, big data, using ecosystems of Hadoop. Okay, Apache HDFS, which implements a distributed parallel processing, a distributed file system. It is a distributed file system, okay, which is used for storing the data in a distributed way in the form of 64 MB blocks by default. But you can configure to have multiples of 64 MB. You can go up to 512 MB. At any point of time, you will be storing the data in the form of blocks, either 512 blocks or 64 MB blocks, which is default. And then you are processing only maximum of 512 MB block at a time. That's why your code is acting upon a small amount of the data. You are winning the race. HDFS is the distributed file system. Your data is distributed. Your one file data is stored in more than one machine using this distributed architecture. This is one of the ecosystems of Hadoop which is used for storing the data in a distributed way. Okay, so Apache MapReduce. Apache MapReduce. Okay, MapReduce is a programming model in which you are going to use the C, C#, Java, Python, Ruby or R language in order to process the data using the MapReduce programming concept. It is a programming model for processing large data sets with a parallel distributed algorithm on a cluster of machines. Cluster means multiple machines, and then you are implementing a distributed parallel processing concept using this MapReduce. It is faster than any other traditional systems. Okay, so Hadoop means HDFS and MapReduce. Means HDFS is used for storing the data in a distributed way, and MapReduce is a programming model which is used for processing the data in a distributed way. Apache Pig, which is an alternative to MapReduce. Non-programmers can use this Pig. Okay, so it is a data flow language. It implements a data flow language which is called a Pig Latin language, which is used in this Hadoop framework, which is used as a replacement for MapReduce. MapReduce needs a developers, a programmers. Here you use a scripting language. So 4 or 5 lines of Pig statements will replace 100 to 150 lines of your Java programming or MapReduce programming. That's why it is easier. Data scientists and then the analysts or the targeted audience of this Pig system provides an engine for executing data flows in parallel on Hadoop by using Hadoop processing system. Okay, so it includes a language Pig Latin for executing these data flows. So Pig is an alternative for MapReduce. Non-programmers also can use this Pig for doing the big data analytics. 95% of the work that can be done using the MapReduce can be done by the Pig also. Okay, Apache Spark, very faster than your MapReduce, which uses a different architecture. Okay, different architecture. So random access is very faster using this Spark framework, in which you can use the languages like your Scala, Python or Java programming. Okay, so it is an alternative for MapReduce, which uses a different architecture to process the data which is stored on Hadoop distributed file system. The storage is an Hadoop distributed file system. It also implements a parallel processing concept, but another 10 to 100 times faster than your MapReduce. Okay, 10 to 100 times faster than the MapReduce based on how complex data that you are processing. Okay, so this is okay. So next ecosystem, Apache Flink. Okay, Apache Flink, you see, it is also formerly called as a stratosphere. Okay, which features powerful programming abstractions in Java and Scala. It is a high performance runtime, and then automatic programming optimization can be done using this Apache Flink. Okay, it has a native support for iterations. Okay, incremental iterations, and then programming consists of large DAGs of operations. I think you know about the DAG of operations, right? So in a sequence, directed acyclic graph operations. Okay, Flink is also a data processing system and an alternative to Hadoop's MapReduce. It replaces the MapReduce. Okay, it comes with this framework comes with its own runtime. Okay, rather than building on top of MapReduce. It is a separate thing like your Spark. Okay, so for different kinds of requirements you use all these different systems for processing the data, because processing is a big challenge for the nowadays in order to process very large volume of the data. Okay, so Apache Twill. Okay, Twill is an abstraction over Apache Hadoop. Okay. It uses Yarn, means yet another resource negotiator. Using this Yarn technology, resource allocation will be more powerful resource allocation, more optimized utilization of the resources in order to process the data, which reduces the complexity of developing a distributed applications. Okay, so that is about TWIL, a separate ecosystem. So they can focus more, the developers can focus more on implementing business logic. Okay, so TWIL uses a simple thread-based model. Okay, Java developed programmers will find it very familiar. Okay, this thread-based model. Okay, Apache TWIL. Okay, Apache Hama. Apache top level open source project allowing you to do advanced analytics beyond MapReduce. Okay, so beyond MapReduce, advanced analytics. So many data analysis techniques such as machine learning, graph algorithms. Okay, these requires iterative computations. Okay. So instead of using the MapReduce, so you can use Hama for doing those kind of complex algorithms, for implementing those complex algorithms. So one more ecosystem is Tej, Apache Tej. Okay, based on your requirements, you use all these separate ecosystems. Okay, Apache Tej. Tej is a proposal to develop a generic application which can be used to process complex data processing tasks. So it also uses DAGOP operations and run natively on Apache Hadoop Yarn. When you use when you are talking about MapReduce, you can run MapReduce program on classic mode and Yarn mode. Okay, so Apache Spark, TWIL, Tej, all these uses Yarn technology. So because the proper utilization of the resources will happen using this Yarn technology. So it is developed, okay, at Yahoo, okay, to do the faster processing, and then there is no limitation of number of nodes. Up to, when you use the Yarn technology for processing the data, you can go up to 50,000 node clusters. Like I said, Facebook is using 50,000 node cluster, and then Yahoo using 42,000 node clusters. Okay. So, okay, Apache Dataflow. Okay, Dataflow provides a collection of Hadoop MapReduce jobs and functions in a higher level languages. Okay, to perform the data analysis. It is kind of aggregation of the things, collecting the things. This framework, Apache Dataflow. Okay, so it provides functions for common statistics tasks like quantiles, sampling, PageRank, streaming, sessionization. So these kind of things can be done using this Apache Dataflow. So this also provides Hadoop jobs for incremental data processing also. Okay, Dataflow is a collection of pig UDFs. You can collect all the pig UDF, pig user defined functions, which are written in Java or some other language. Okay, so that is about usage of Apache Dataflow. So all these systems are used for processing the data. There is enhancements, one after the other. All these enhancements is being developed in the recent days. So one more is, so when you are dealing with structured data, there are normalization techniques, and then you have to join the tables using the relational tables, right? So when you have here using this HBase, Apache HBase, what you do, okay, you can use this technology for online transaction processing, and then it implements a NoSQL database concept. Not only SQL, whatever your SQL can do, this HBase will do everything. Whatever your HBase will, whatever your SQL will do, like traditional RDBMS will do. Okay, it is for backing up Hadoop MapReduce job with Apache HBase tables. So no relations here, no data types. For dealing with unstructured data can be stored in the tables. No data types, no constraints. Okay, no relations, no group by, no subqueries. So very easy learning curve for learning this language, HBase language, the queries. It implements DDLs, DMLs, and then query languages separate, and then apart from your traditional RDBMS. Okay, it won't use the relational things. So that because the faster processing can be done using this HBase. That is the main intention. So when you are dealing with very large volume of the data, okay, it is very faster than your RDBMS or Hive, which is used in which implements a data warehousing concept or RDBMS concept in Hadoop framework. Okay, it is very faster than those systems. A traditional RDBMS or Hive, which is used as which implements in a data warehousing concept, which is used as an RDBMS concept. Okay, that is about Apache HBase. Apache, Cassandra, and then MongoDB. Okay, all these are built on the concept, same concept as Google's Bigtable. They have taken this concept from Google's Bigtable. Okay, so which implements the same thing, NoSQL concept. Okay, NoSQL concept. Distributed NoSQL DBMS implements Bigtable data model, Google's Bigtable data model. Okay, so using the MapReduce programming or Java programs, like MapReduce is basically a Java programming or some other language that you can use to write your MapReduce program. Okay, we talked about those technologies that can be used to write your MapReduce program. So using that MapReduce programming, you can retrieve the data from Cassandra database, which is a NoSQL database. MongoDB is also built on the same concept called a NoSQL database concept, NoSQL concept. Okay, so HBase is a Hadoop database. So Cassandra can run individually and then can be integrated with Hadoop and then use the Hadoop distributed file system for storing its tables data. The data is stored in the form of tables, columns and rows, but in a NoSQL concept, non-relational. All the data you are storing using the normalization techniques, so you are storing the data in 10 tables. All the 10 tables data, put it in one table and then apply this querying language provided with this NoSQL syntax, so that your retrieval of the data is very faster. HBase, Cassandra and MongoDB built on the same concept, which is a NoSQL concept, which is invented by Google's Bigtable. Okay, they used Google's Bigtable at Google. Apache Hive. Okay, SQL implementation. In SQL implementation, RDBMS implementation on Hadoop framework. These are the ecosystems. Okay, so now we just talked about NoSQL databases, and then now we are going to talk about SQL database, which implements an ANSI SQL. Okay, in Hive we are going to use a language called HiveQL. Okay, so which is a dialect of SQL. Okay, so here Hive uses implements a data warehousing concept. Okay, that means enterprise data applications data can be stored in Hive data warehouse, which implements an RDBMS concept. Okay, so Hive is replacing a lot of other data warehouses which are built using either Oracle or MySQL or Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, so all these data warehouses which are built using those technologies are getting moved into this Hive data warehouse because it is cheaper than any other system, and then there is no disaster recovery issues, and then your system is available all the time. There is no question of disaster recovery. The framework will take care of it. Okay, and then it is very cost effective. Like I said, it is 90 to 99% cost savings when you use this Hive. Okay, so you can implement all the DDL, some of the DML with some limitations on DML, and then all the query language that can be used in SQL can be used in Hive. In order to retrieve the data, use query language here, the same query language that you use in a traditional RDBMS like Oracle. Okay, so Apache HCatalog. So HCatalog table extraction presents users with a relational view of the data in Hadoop distributed file system. It will show the data in a relational way. It will read the data sets. Okay. So that users need not worry about where or in what format the data is stored. It will show it in a relational way. Abstraction can be done in a relational view, which is stored on, the data is stored on in HDFS, which is a structured data. Okay, Apache MRQL. Okay, MRQL. So SQL on Hadoop, right? So these are the SQL systems on Hadoop. Apache Hive, Apache HCATLab, and then okay, Apache MRQL, MapReduce Query Language. Okay, MRQL is a query processing and optimization system for large-scale distributed data analytics and built on top of Apache Hadoop. Means if it is built on top of Hadoop, means what? It is using Hadoop distributed file system as its underlying storage. Okay, and using the MapReduce, okay, you will be doing the querying internally. Whatever your MRQL is executed will be translated into a series of MapReduce jobs internally and retrieve the data and then display it to the command line interface or whatever the way you interacted with these engines. Okay. Okay, MRQL, the MapReduce query language, is an SQL-like query language for large-scale data analytics on a cluster of computers. Okay, the MRQL query processing system can evaluate MRQL queries in 3 modes: in MapReduce mode, using Apache Hadoop; in BSP mode, bulk synchronous parallel mode, using Apache Hama. Okay. Okay, that is about the SQL systems available in Apache Hadoop framework. Okay, data ingestion systems. Okay, that means data transferring systems. Okay, what are the data ingestion systems that you are using? Apache Flume, Apache Scoop. Okay, so these are the 2 ecosystems which are used for data ingestion. That means bringing in the data into Hadoop distributed file system. Flume implements a distributed, reliable, and then available service for efficiently collecting, aggregating, and moving large amounts of log data, unstructured data. The data generated by your database servers or your operating system servers or web servers will be at a regular intervals. So what this Flume tool will do, it will bulk transfer of the data, bulk transfer of incremental data to Hadoop distributed file system or Java messaging services or SOLR systems. The destination can be anything. The sources are these systems which are generating enormous amount of log data. So and then once you put the data into HDFS using the MapReduce, you are going to process the data and then find the potential failures, and then by analyzing that log data you can find out the potential failures of the source systems so that you can fix those issues by analyzing the results generated by your MapReduce program. Okay, that is the purpose of Flume, Apache Flume. Okay, it is used for bulk transfer of your incremental data which is generated by different operating systems or database management systems, and then transfer it to your one way from the source system to Hadoop's HDFS file system. Okay, that is about Flume. Scoop. Okay, it is a tool which is used for bulk transfer of structured data which is used for storing the data into a traditional RDBMS. Okay, it is a system for bulk transfer of structured data from Hadoop environment to a traditional RDBMS, and then here and there, to and fro. Okay, so getting the data from the traditional RDBMS to store your Hive tables or transferring it into Hadoop distributed file system is called import, and then using a structured file which is used to populate your Hive tables, which implements an RDBMS, right? So that data can be used to populate a MySQL table or Oracle table. That is called export. So Apache Scoop has multiple tools, okay, not only import and export, okay. So this is one of the data ingestion tool which is used in this distributed architecture, Hadoop, okay. Okay, so it is like a Flume, but Flume, once you initiate the Flume agent, it will run at the regular intervals to transfer the data into Hadoop ecosystems. Here, Scoop deals with the structured data, and then Flume deals with the unstructured data. Scoop is used to deal with the structured data, and then to and from HDFS to RDBMS, RDBMS to HDFS. That is the difference. These are the two ingestion tools that you are using in Hadoop distributed file system. Okay, so Apache Thrift. Okay, Thrift, which provides a framework for developing and accessing remote services. It allows developers to create services that can be consumed by an application that is written in any language that there are Thrift bindings for. Okay, so that is about Thrift. It allows developers to create services that can be consumed by any applications that is written in a language Okay, so next is Apache Zookeeper. Okay, just few minutes. Okay, so we are going to finish it. Okay, Apache Zookeeper. It is an ecosystem, okay, which will have multiple instances based on the size of the clusters, number of the nodes. We will have multiple instances of Zookeeper, which is mainly used for a distributed, okay, a distributed logging. It provides a distributed logging, and it used as a coordination for service for some of the ecosystems of Hadoop. It uses the in-memory management for faster processing. Zookeeper is speed up your Hadoop cluster processing. And then it implements a fail-safe mechanism in Hadoop architecture, Zookeeper. And then Apache Avro is the okay. So Apache Avro is the file system. Okay, so Avro is a framework for modeling, serializing, and making remote procedure calls. Okay, Avro uses data structures. Your data it store JSON data structures, and then using Avro, so very faster processing can be implemented. This Avro file system is developed by Docker team, which will work in Hadoop framework. Okay, Avro file system. Okay, Avro does not require code generation. Okay, so this framework also can compete with other similar tools like Apache Thrift, okay, and Google Protocol Buffers, okay, Zero CIs. So it is an alternative for those. Okay, Avro file system. Okay, Apache Wooji. This is which implements a scheduling concept here. It is a scheduler. Okay, it is a system for running workflows of dependent jobs. The jobs can be a MapReduce job, a pig script, or Hive script. Multiple one system's output will be taken as an input to the next system. Like that, you can schedule multiple jobs so that one system's output will be used by the second system, and then complete the end-to-end processing. Using this, it also uses the DAGOP operations, direct acyclic graphs. That's one directional. Okay, if any job fails, it will throw you an error and then give you the status, failed status. Okay, so Wooji coordinator can trigger jobs by time, frequency. So you can schedule the jobs to run at a specific time and start immediately. And then you can start the jobs from a particular job. if your workflow is having 10 jobs, you can start from third job or fourth job, whatever you need, or you can schedule it to run at a specific time, like your cron jobs or Windows schedulers or Linux schedulers. Okay, so because Hadoop is developed as a batch processing system, it takes a major role. Wooji takes a major role. Okay, so machine learning languages on Hadoop ecosystems. Okay, in Hadoop framework, what are the machine learning languages? Apache Mahout. Okay, machine learning library, and then it provides a machine learning library and math library on top of MapReduce. Okay, so you use the same language that you use for developing MapReduce program. Okay, next ecosystem is Apache Sentry. Okay, which is used for a security purposes. Sentry is the next step in enterprise grade big data security and delivers fine grained authorization to store in Apache. Okay, it is implements a security concept. Like your Kerberos security, Apache Sentry implements an authorization. It provides a proper authentications for which is the data for the data which is stored on your Hadoop distributed file system. Okay, flow of processing, unstructured data. Okay, data processing. Okay, for this, when you are getting the data from different logs, this main aim of the big challenge is processing unstructured data. For structured data, it is not an issue. There are separate systems available. Okay, so but unstructured data is a big challenge, and then processing the image processing also a big challenge. Your processing will slow it down. Okay, so that is a big challenge. Analyzing the log data is the main criteria here. Data, so you have to use some data pre-processing system, and then so the data which is coming from the Flume, which is used for ingestion of data. Getting the data from Flume, the data can be routed into your SOLR cloud or your HDFS. The source can be HDFS or SOLR cloud. So SOLR cloud is a kind of a search engine, okay, which is used for indexing. Okay, so SOLR indexing. Okay, SOLR cloud and Apache Zookeeper. Indexing. These tools, two tools are used for indexing the data. So you pre-process the data using some languages like Java or something, and then indexing will be done, and then that data will be in stored in SOLR cloud, so that you can use the SOLR cloud for a better indexing and then implements a better search. SOLR cloud implements a searching capabilities, a powerful searching capabilities for doing, and then which implements a distributed architecture and then deals with large volume of the data. Okay, so HDFS storage is basically data replications. Using the data replication, the data is stored in HDFS store, or this data can be processed in SOLR cloud, which is in cloud also. The data, big data can be processed in cloud also using a SOLR cloud search engine. Okay, flow of processing unstructured data. Okay, so the data source is coming from different systems. Okay, the processor data and then or like an unstructured data. Okay, through Flume, it is that data will be coming to the Flume input, which is a data transfer tool, data migration tool, unstructured data. Okay, or log data or whatever. Okay, this Flume agent is having multiple components: source, channel, and sink. Source will get the data from the source systems. Channel is the a terminal repository where all these incremented data is getting stored, and then sink is the one which will route the data, the events like which are stored in the channel to multiple source destinations. The destination can be in SOLR cloud, which is in cloud. Okay, and then the another destination can be an HDFS channel. Means HDFS is the destination file system where this log data is stored. So that analyzing is up to you. Whatever the tool you use to analyze this log data, that is up to you. Okay, it can be routed to SOLR cloud or HDFS file system or Java messaging services. Okay, so that is flow of processing unstructured data. Okay, I think I covered all the topics in time 1 hour frame. Okay, any questions? So you send all the questions whatever you have through either email to Sancha, and she will send it to me, and I will answer your questions. Okay. So thank you very much everyone for your time, and then okay, your interest to learn about the emerging technologies for big data processing and analysis. Okay, so for logging in this session, thank you so much. And then so if you wanted to learn more about, I am the coach for teaching this Hadoop, and then I'm working as a consultant too on Hadoop projects. Okay, so I am the coach for Knowledge Hut. So if you are interested, you can learn all these big data analytical tools. Okay, so it is kind of 45 to 50 hours course, or like we can curtail to 3 days or 4 days courses. We are delivering couple of corporate sessions. I delivered couple of sessions through Knowledge Hut for a couple of clients like HP. I have multiple sessions for IBM and Cognizant, and then few other major clients. Okay, as well as online sessions through Knowledge Hut. Thank you so much. Okay, see you guys. Bye.